3, 2, 1. Da, 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 da. Blue streak speeds by. Sonic the Hedgehog, too fast for the naked eye. Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic, he can really move. Sonic, he's got an attitude. Sonic, he's the fastest thing alive. Look out when he storms through. Sonic the Hedgehog, don't doubt what he can do. Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic, he can really move. Sonic, he's got an attitude. Sonic, he's the fastest thing alive. He's the fastest thing alive. He's the fastest thing alive. And we're back to the second part of the Tales from Mobius side saga. Oh, man. Part 2. 4. Sorry, I burped into the microphone. But that's beside the point. I have to get through this. No way out. So, without further ado. The Malicious Metropolis Masquerade, Part 2, Bullfight. The sleek, shiny, speedy hovercar continued to speed down the path and on through the woods. While Mandy concentrated on the driving, Wilson consulted the map to see if they were going in the right direction. A short while later, the car pulled up at a road that led 2 ways. Unfortunately, there was no signpost telling them which road led to where, so they had no idea which way Grand Metropolis was. Mandy looked left and right, trying to make a wild guess, but she didn't dare to in the case she sent them down the wrong way. "So, Wilson, which way do we go down from here?" said Mandy. Wilson peered down at the map and studied it to see if he could decipher if it was the right way or not. According to the map, it might be right," said Wilson a few moments later, "but I'm not fully sure, so, yeah, the map's not very clear on that part." "Let me see that," said Mandy, taking the map off Wilson and looking at it herself. She soon found out what Wilson meant. The map unfortunately had a coffee stain on it, and the stain was in on the spot they were at now, so it was hard to make out which way Grand Metropolis was. Mandy groaned heavily. "What kind of lame-brained moron spills coffee on a map?" she grumbled. "And what kind of lame-brained moron gives us a coffee-stained map?" I don't know," says Wilson. "So, what do we do now, since we can't tell which way is Grand Metropolis? Yeah, Grand Metropolis, let's focus on that." "I'm gonna take a wild guess and go right," said Mandy. "I'm sure it's this way anyway. Yeah." So Mandy turned the steering wheel to the right, stepped on the pedal, and the car turned to the right. "I think when we get back to Mobitropolis, we should get a different map," said Wilson, folding it up and putting it away since he didn't think he would need it right now. "So next time we need to get to Grand Metropolis, we won't have any trouble getting there." "I'll say," said Mandy. "And we best keep any maps away from anyone who drinks coffee, so they can't stain any more maps." Hey, Mandy, what's that in the distance?" cried Wilson, leaning forward in his seat. Mandy leaned forward to see what Wilson was looking at. Suspense. In the distance, they could see a cloud of dust coming towards them. The cloud of dust was being caused by something running extremely fast, and it was coming towards Wilson and Mandy. The thing came into view, revealing itself to be a huge robot shaped like a bull with wheels in place of legs. The bull robot was silver and gold with a few red stripes here and there, and its armor looking incredibly tough. Its head was black, and it had 2 ferociously long and sharp horns. Its optics were blood red. It had 2 Gatling guns on its back and 2 on either side of its neck. And the robot looked furious. It bellowed loudly as it thundered towards Wilson and Mandy. "Holy cheesecakes!" I don't, think about these things until I say them, you know? I just kind of, have to process who's saying it. That's all I need to think about, really. I don't think holy cheesecakes. I think screamed Mandy. But anyway, screamed Mandy, swerving madly to get out of the bull's way. "It's a robotic bull!" cried Wilson as the car jerked violently to the right, and the bullbot roared right past him. "Yes, let's focus on that, not the map. Let's not focus on the map." The giant bull-shaped robot swerved around, making loud screeches as its tires scraped across the path, and then the bullbot charged at Mandy's car again. Mandy slammed a button on the steering column with her fist, and the hover car levitated even higher off the ground, so the bullbot charged straight under it and past it. Mandy lowered the car as she drove it into a safe patch into woods on the side of the path, and she and Wilson scrambled wildly out of the car. Wilson opened the boot and pulled out a long pole with 2 slots on either side as he pressed the button that made 2 long silver blades pop out of the slots. This was a bladed weapon that spins around when you throw it at the attacker, and Wilson was the only real fighter equipped with one. Mandy equipped herself with a belt full of bombs, and the 2 fighters ran out to face the bullbot. But the bullbot was nowhere in sight. It appeared to have gone. Wilson and Mandy looked around wildly for the bullbot, but they couldn't see it anywhere. They kept their senses alert for the slightest sound as they searched for the robot. Wilson began to shake terribly, the spinning blade weapon shaking in his trembling hands. His ears drooped back against his head, and he looked around nervously. Mandy, however, kept perfectly calm, and watching Wilson act like a big chicken was making her mad. "Wilson, will you stop that?" said Mandy crossly. "It makes you look like a wimp."
"Sorry, Mandy, but that bullbot, it's terrifying, and the thought of it charging at us from behind is making me shake terribly," whimpered Wilson.
"Wilson, don't you remember what—" I'm sorry, I'm squeaking off and on. I don't know what I want to do with Mandy. Wilson, remember what Geoffrey told us?" said Mandy. "Don't let the scary things bother you in battle. The enemy can sense fear, and if it senses fear, it'll use your fear to its advantage and destroy you, so please be a little brave, Wilson. You gotta have courage." "And I'm one of those brag girls that says, you're guy, aren't you, man up," or something like that, and I'll have a real big attitude about it." She put a hand tenderly on the dog's shoulder, and Wilson immediately stopped trembling. Her touch felt so warm and friendly to him, and he loved the feeling he got from it.
"You know what, Mandy? Your touch makes me feel braver already," said Wilson. "I'll forget your comments, and I'll try and think of that in battle. That'll keep my courage up."
"That's a good doggy," said Mandy teasingly. "Now let's find the robot and destroy it, shall we?" But they didn't need to. The bullbot had been hiding in the woods and lying in wait, and once it found the perfect moment to strike, it charged out of the woods, bellowing loudly. Steam billowed out of its robotical nostrils, and its horn glistened like a long, gleaming sword. Mandy leapt out of the way, but Wilson threw the spinning blade weapon at the bullbot, and then leapt out of the way. The spinning blade just pinged harmlessly off its incredibly thick armor and spun away. The weapon impaled itself into a tree high out of reach, and the bullbot swerved around and screeched to a halt. It remained where it was and glared at Wilson and Mandy with its red optics. Then a hologram of a person in a robe with a hood over her face emitted from the bullbot's eyes, and the person spoke. "Hello there, royal fighters," said the robed figure. "I am Mistress of Darkness, leader of the Eggman army in Grand Metropolis, and I've sent this marvelous machine to prevent you from arriving at Grand Metropolis." Wilson and Mandy glared at the hologram as they clenched their fists and then looked at each other. "Man, she sounds like a stuttering teenage boy." "You shut up! I'm the Mistress of Darkness. There's no other alternative." "Do you think you could stop us, Mistress?" I keep on doing. "Do you think you could stop us, Mistress?" scoffed Mandy. "Of course I do, you mousy moron," sniffed the Mistress. "Of course I do, you mousy moron," sniffed the Mistress. "Agdors is very powerful, and without Sonic the Hedgehog on your side, you are powerless against this machine's brute strength."
"How will you know How do you know we don't have Sonic with us? Asked Wilson. He's in the car. Yeah. What are you doing messing with the map, Sonic? It must have been Sonic messing with the map all this time. Who knew?
Never you mind, you nosy dog, snapped the mistress. Have fun playing with my little pet. Will you? And do be careful of its horns, or you'll end up skewered like a kebab on a stick. The hologram faded away, and Egg Taurus bellowed loudly.
Thanks for the advice, Mistress Lady.
Its wheels revved up, causing massive burnouts on the path, and the huge bull-like machine charged at Wilson and Mandy. The dog and mouse leapt out of the way, leaving the machine to thunder straight past them and screech to a halt. Just as it was turning around, Mandy threw a bomb at it as hard as she could. The bomb hit Egg Taurus just above its head and exploded upon impact. Unfortunately for Mandy, though, the bomb didn't destroy its head like she hoped it would. Mandy threw another bomb at Egg Taurus, but its incredibly thick armor withstood the blow yet again, and the bull-shaped machine had finished turning around. It charged at Mandy at top speed and roared loudly. Mandy jumped out of the machine's way, but not quite fast enough. Egg Taurus's left horn just scratched her left leg as it thundered past, causing Mandy to land rather painfully on her front and grimace in pain. The horn had left a horrible bloody cut on her leg, and her trouser leg ripped. Ugh. Mandy's leg hurt so much she was having trouble standing up, so she decided to lay low until she could stand again. As for Wilson, he was trying to retrieve his spinning blade weapon, but it was much too high for him to reach, and he couldn't climb the tree since dogs aren't very good climbers, so he couldn't get it. Unless he got a leg up or something. Then the dog had an idea. If he could get on top of Egg Taurus and jump as high as he could, then maybe he would be able to reach the weapon. The only problem was how was he going to get on top of something that moved so fast? Wilson had to stop Egg Taurus and then climb on top of it. But was there a less dangerous way of retrieving his weapon? Wilson thought for a moment, and then he had another idea. That it completely makes the first idea worthless.
Yeah, I guess it does.
Shut up! This one was risky, but what choice did he have? Well, he had another choice, but it's fine. I mean, he could have jumped. He could have led the Taurus next to the tree, jumped onto the tree branch, leapt from the tree branch. From the base of the tree. He could have leapt from the base of the tree onto the top of the Taurus, and then from the top of the Taurus, he could have leapt to the tree branch with the weapon, but that's okay. I'll ignore it.
You will?
Yes. Wilson, he needed to retrieve his weapons, so he had something to fight Egg Taurus with, so he had to try whatever he could. Egg Taurus had just finished turning around after its last charge, and it looked around for Wilson and Mandy so it could charge them. Then Wilson stood in front of the tree his weapon was stuck in, and he began dancing around merrily and blowing raspberries.
Yoo-hoo, Mr. Bull names I can't think of right now. Come and get me,
he jeered. Egg Taurus roared a loud, frightening roar, and steam billowed out of its nostrils in the manner of a real bull. Then Egg Taurus revved its engines. Its wheels screeched, and it thundered at Wilson with its optics blazing and its horn pointing at the dog, ready to skewer him alive. Wilson bent down as if he was ready to run for his life, and he began saying under his breath, "Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. What was the excuse I was coming up with again for the map? Sonic wasn't. Yeah." Once Egg Taurus was close enough, Wilson leapt out of its way, and the giant bull bot crashed into the tree head first. It knocked the tree over, and it landed with a crash on the ground. Wilson was pleased to see his plan had worked. Now the tree had fallen over, he could retrieve his weapon easily. Wilson ran over to the tree, and he pulled the long-bladed pole out of the tree. He ran up to Egg Taurus, who was beginning to back up, and he tried to stab the robot with the spinning blade weapon. But the blade just bent against the robot's tough armor. This robot's armor was strong enough to withstand bombs and even sonic spin dashes, so you can imagine it was very tough. Wilson shrieked in terror at his bent weapon. One of the blades was now useless since it was bent, but the other blade was good to go. I'll just keep that in. Egg Taurus continued backing up. Wilson had to bring it down and faster, or it will charge again, and it will be harder to stop it once it began charging. Then Wilson had another idea. True, its armor was tough, but maybe its optics weren't. He raised the weapon and he threw it like a javelin at one of the Egg Taurus's optics. The blade plunged neatly into the bullbot's eye, cracking it and pulling it out of function, and leaving Egg Taurus blinded on one side. Egg Taurus screamed loudly as it shook its head wildly to get the blade out of its optic. Wilson ran over to the robot and he grabbed the weapon, but Egg Taurus jerked its head so hard it lifted him off the ground, and he flung up so violently he almost let go of the weapon. Egg Taurus continued jerking its head around madly to get the spinning blade out of its optic, but it wouldn't shake the weapon off, and since Wilson was being tossed around like a towel on a washing line in the wind, he couldn't pull it out either. If you want a visual, just watch the first couple episodes of Game Grumps' Sonic 06 Let's Play, and you'll eventually reach the part, because I don't remember the specific episode, and you'll reach the part where Sonic's on the Orca, and he's flopping around, and they close the gate, and it's the most beautiful thing ever. And, yes, warning for mature audiences. Then Egg Taurus gave an almighty jerk of the head, and the only remaining blade on the weapon snapped in two as Wilson was flung over its head. The dog spiraled through the air, and he landed sharply on his side. He picked himself up and stared in despair at the broken weapon. One blade was bent and the other had snapped. It was practically useless now, so Wilson needed another weapon. As for Egg Taurus, it turned around and stared Wilson down with its only remaining optic. It pointed its neck-mounted Gatling guns, and it began shooting at Wilson. Wilson yelped and ran like mad as he tried to avoid being shot by the Gatling guns. To make things more difficult, Egg Taurus decided to fire its back-mounted guns as well, so Wilson had 4 guns to avoid being shot by. But he had a feeling he wouldn't be able to keep it up for long. As for Mandy, she had recovered from Egg Taurus's onslaught, and now she was back on her feet. She saw her friend in trouble and immediately ran over to help. She pulled out a detonator from her belt and set a timer on it. As Egg Taurus began rotating around in an attempt to blast Wilson, Wilson ran rings around it, trying to avoid being shot. Mandy ran over to the bull, and she attached the detonator neatly onto one of Egg Taurus's guns. Then she climbed on top of the robot and attached 2 more detonators to the 2 guns mounted on its back. This is a really long paragraph. Then she attached one last detonator on the other gun on the other side of its neck as she climbed off the Egg Taurus and ran like mad. The detonators all went off at once, and Egg Taurus's Gatling guns were all destroyed in an instant. The detonators didn't do any harm to Egg Taurus's bodywork, but its weaponry had been reduced to nothing but its horns. Now its gun was gone. Wilson was relieved Egg Taurus didn't have its guns anymore, but that still didn't mean the battle was over. Oh no, we're not even halfway done with this. Egg Taurus still had its unstoppable charging attack, and now Egg Taurus was getting ready to charge again. It charged at Wilson and Mandy at top speed, and yet again missed them as they jumped out of the way. They felt the robot whooshing past them as they leapt clear from the robot. Before Egg Taurus could stop and charge again, Wilson and Mandy ran for cover. Egg Taurus rotated around and stood still, waiting for its victims to come out and fight so it could skewer them with its horns. Wilson and Mandy had hidden behind Mandy's car, and they sat down against the car as they thought on what to do.
"That thing is unstoppable," said Mandy. "We need a plan, and we need it now, or we'll be finished."
"How do we stop something that goes so fast and has armor so tough?" asked Wilson. "I mean, look at my spinning blade. It's in bits. It's totally Sonic's fault."
He showed Mandy the now useless spinning blade, which had a bent blade and a snap blade.
"My spinning blade can slice through almost anything, and yet it didn't do any damage whatsoever to Egg Taurus," cried Wilson. "The only thing I can do now is destroy its optics. We've only managed to destroy one, and now my weaponry is in no condition to destroy the other one."
"In that case, we need to change our tactics," said Mandy. "We'll need to take a sneakier approach if we want to destroy that thing. But what are we going to do, and how are we going to destroy that thing?"
"I don't know, Mandy girl," said Wilson sadly. "I just don't know."
The 2 fighters needed a plan and fast. If they didn't come up with one sooner or later, they would never make it to Grand Metropolis.
To be continued.